The best moments of my workday were always the ones right before arriving at my job at the mall. The drive in, listening to music or a podcast. The few minutes before my shift, sitting in my car, sipping coffee from my travel mug. They always went by too fast, while the rest of the day would drag on forever. Checking my watch, I realized those blissful, idle moments were once again at an end. Taking the key from the ignition, I felt the rumble of the engine die, along with my good mood, and the cold air began seeping in almost instantly. It had been a brutal winter, with way too much snow. Grumbling, I stepped out of my car into the bitter, frigid morning air. I pulled up the hood of my coat to cover my ears as a chill wind blew across the parking lot of the mall. My car door slammed shut because of the gust, the loud noise echoing over the vast empty space. Clouds were stirring overhead, and the forecast was for snow. A lot of snow. Again. Speed walking across the parking lot, I clutched the warmth of the coffee cup in my hand, swapping it back and forth between left and right to steal some of its heat. Now that the Christmas rush was over, the usual dullness had settled over the mall once again. The place was deserted when I entered, nodding hello to the old security guard who was half asleep at his desk by the directory, his takeout coffee cup spilled beside him on the floor. Even the geriatrics didn't bother to take their morning walks here anymore, opting for the Costco across town, which offered free samples day and night. Not to mention inflation-proof hot dogs for $1.50, soft drink included. The mall had no such offerings, just discount off-brand eyewear, desolate clothing stores, and cell phone kiosks. Even those mainstays were abandoning the place, relocating to the other, trendier mall across town. This place had a real shantytown vibe, a black market feel to it. There was even one of those stores with bins full of junk you buy for various prices. Bins, I think it was called. The only shining beacon of corporate enlightenment in the entire mall was Megamart. It occupied the entire eastern wing at this point, after swallowing up several smaller shops like some enormous bloated whale. The rest of us were hanging on by a thread, hoping shoppers didn't see the giant blue sign at the other end of the mall, which promised lower prices for nearly everything we offered. Personally, I worked at Electro Hut, essentially a modern-day version of Radio Shack with just as questionable of a business model. We were doomed for failure at some point, but I really didn't want it to be at the hands of Megamart and Ed, the pompous, Napoleonic owner of the place. His employees were much the same, the type who acted like grown-up versions of childhood bullies. Who knew where he managed to find them all? Maybe there was a hiring service for assholes at monsters.com or something?
The sale price is $4.50, and that includes a controller.
My saleswoman, Claire, was saying to a customer near the entrance of the Electro Hut. I slowed down to watch her close the sale. If needed, I could always step in with some last-minute manager's special discount. We really needed to make some big sales this month to hit our targets.
Does that come with a game?
The pimple-faced kid asked, pushing up his glasses.
What's the point of buying the thing if it doesn't come with a game? I barely have enough for the system at that price.
I gave Claire a discreet nod, letting her know it was okay to give him the bundle at a lower price. But before she could say a word, one of Ed's jocks swooped in, seemingly appearing out of nowhere. The guy was at the opposite end of the mall from where he worked, and yet here he was, poaching one of our customers. Unbelievable. Or at least at most places it would be unbelievable. Here at the Beaconville Mall, it was a common occurrence.
Megamart's got that system with a game for the same price, my man.
The guy said, putting the kid in a headlock and then giving him a noogie.
Come on, let me escort you over there, before you waste your money on these losers.
The kid was looking at me nervously, still held in a headlock by the jerk. I don't know what it was about seeing that. Maybe it unlocked some traumatic memory of me being bullied in high school, but at that moment, something in me snapped. Hey, you don't get to decide where the kid shops, I said, stepping forward, my hand balled into a fist without even realizing. We'll give you the same prices for the system and whatever game you want. Just don't go with this asshole. The Megamart dickhead scoffed at me, then looked at the kid.
Well, what do you say? You want to come with us? Or do you want to get ripped off by this freak?
I'll stay here. Assholes.
He released him and took a step back, raising his hands as if to say, I surrender.
Fair enough. You might regret that later, though. Just remember whose side you decide to be on.
He looked back over his shoulder as he walked away, several other muscle-bound jocks in tow. Like the first one, they seemed to appear out of thin air, hiding in the shadows like ninjas. Something was so strange about all of this. It just felt off, like a bad dream. It felt like I was in a bad 80s movie all of a sudden. I shook my head and brushed away the thoughts. then helped Claire ring the kid up using my discount code. The whole time, I was getting a bad feeling, like a premonition that something terrible was coming, but I didn't know what. It turned out terrible was a vast understatement. We got to talking with the kid, and he told us his name was Freddy, and, as it turned out, he was looking for a job, as well as a gaming system. To be honest, we're not really looking for anyone right now, I said, feeling terrible about it. It was true, though. If anything, we needed to downsize our staff, but I didn't have the heart to let anyone go. The store just wasn't doing that well lately. We were trying, unsuccessfully, to compete with Amazon and Best Buy and every other big box store out there, including Mega Mart. But I didn't say any of that to Freddy. Claire was giving me a puppy dog look, as if to say,
Please, can we keep him?
I took a deep breath and then caved. Okay, you can do a trial shift. You're here, so you might as well start today if you're up for it. That way we can call that bargain I gave you an employee discount. Just an hour or two, we'll see how you fit in. How's that sound?
Hell yeah.
Great, and we don't really swear in the store. At least, we try not to.
Shit. Shoot. Got it. So, when do I get one of those sweet red shirts and a name tag?
I gave Claire a look, and the kid was way too excited about working here, but maybe it was his first job or something.
Come with me.
Claire said to him, grabbing his hand. The kid blushed, his face turning bright red. I got the feeling he didn't talk to girls very often, let alone hold their hands. I'll get you a shirt and a name tag. It's not gonna have your name on it, though. It's gonna say trainee in big capital letters, so everyone knows you're a noob. Oh, one more thing. We like to haze the newcomers around here. You're not allergic to cat food, are you?
I don't think so. Why?
Poor kid, I thought to myself as they walked off together. He's got no idea what he's in for. I checked my watch. It was 10:30 a.m., and yet the mall was still empty. There were no customers at all. I had expected a lull after Christmas, but this was ridiculous. I stepped out onto the concourse just outside the store, looking down towards the other end of the mall. I saw a lot of activity. At first, I thought it was shoppers, and figured that was why it was so dead over here. Some giant sale at Mega Mart was taking all of our customers again. But then I looked closer and saw that those people outside the store were not customers. They were blue shirt Mega Mart employees, and they were each holding something. They looked like weapons, and the way they were standing was almost like a battle formation. I shook my head again, feeling that surreal, dreamlike sensation, like deja vu, but different. This was all so bizarre.
Greg.
Claire was calling from the back room.
Greg, what the fuck is this?
I took one last weary look down towards the Mega Mart and went back inside, heading for the back room. That feeling in my gut of something wrong was growing, and it wouldn't stop. I don't understand, I said, looking at the crossbows and hunting knives, spears, and other weapons arranged in the back room. What is all this?
You tell me! They weren't back here this morning. Someone must have put them here in the past hour. You're saying it wasn't you?
No, it wasn't me. I just got here. And why the hell would I put weapons back here? This isn't the fucking Hunger Games. A buzz of feedback and a cracking voice from the overhead PA interrupted us. I recognized the voice instantly, even through the whine of feedback. It was Ed, the owner of the Mega Mart.
Good morning, mall workers. By now, I trust you've all found your armaments for the battle ahead. You're probably wondering what I mean. But before I explain, let me assure you of a few things. Number one, all exits have been sealed. There is no way in or out of this mall. Number two, you will either die or you'll be the last non-Mega Mart team member alive. And the representative from that store, and that store alone, will retain their place within this mall. The rest of your stores will be absorbed by us, like so many of your friends before you.
Claire was looking at me, and I was shaking my head.
Is this some sort of sick joke?
It's gotta be, but it's in really poor taste. Is he nuts? Sneaking in here with all these weapons?
What the hell is all this? I didn't sign up for all this shit, man.
It's not real, I said. It's not. He's just doing some prank. There's no way that guy would actually pull something like this.
Are you sure about that?
Claire asked nervously, raising her eyebrows. I stopped and really thought about it for the first time, and I opened myself up to the possibility that this could, in fact, be real. And suddenly, I was convinced it was. Actually, to be honest, it sounds exactly like something he would do. The guy's a sociopath. we were interrupted again by the asshole's condescending voice crackling over the PA.
I have decided to make this even for all of you. I have provided you with weapons to make this a reasonably fair fight. Modern-day weaponry will not be used at all, so no machine guns or grenades, flamethrowers, or any of that other nasty business. But we will be coming at you with everything else we have. So I suggest you be ready. The battle begins now. Or, rather, should I call it what it really is? A hunt.
The PA clicked off, and we were left in silence.
Okay, fuck this.
Freddy said, running off.
Fuck this mall and fuck this store. I'm out of here. I'm going to Costco.
I chased after him, but he was quick. He was 20 yards away from me as I was just getting to the edge of the store, but then I stopped in my tracks. The arrow didn't fly through the air towards him. It was just there, protruding from his back and sticking right through him, center mass. He spun around, his eyes wide with shock, blood pooling in his mouth. And then another arrow came down, and another, until he was full of them, sticking out of him from all angles like a porcupine. He collapsed to the concourse floor, his blood spreading out around him in a pool. I heard screams from all around as the store owners began to run in all directions. People had their phones out, were trying to call 911, but were yelling about how it wouldn't go through. Nothing was going through. And then more arrows were flying. Workers were going down left and right as they tried to escape. The lower level of the mall became a shooting gallery for the Megamart archers, and they were using the high ground of the upper level to their full advantage, raining bolts and arrows down from above. It felt like I was suddenly in a medieval battle, or more accurately, a massacre, as death wails could be heard ringing out from all around. Uniformed mall employees fell one by one, some clutching their throats or eyes as unfortunate arrows penetrated them everywhere. I looked to see the exit was sealed off with chains, clearly visible even from where I stood. If only Freddy had taken a second to look, he would have seen them for himself. But he was panicking. Not only that, snow was piling up quickly outside the doors, covering them. The predicted snowstorm was here in full force. Nobody would be coming to the mall in this weather, which meant nobody would be calling the police from outside either. We were trapped in this place, with no way to call for help. I thought back to the security guard I'd nodded at coming in, his coffee cup tipped over beside him. A sign of a struggle? Had he been asleep or drugged? Or worse yet, dead? It occurred to me, not for the first time, how we so often see what we are expecting to see, not what's really in front of us.
What the hell are you doing?
Claire was screaming at me, pulling down the steel shutter to close off the front of the store.
Help me with this. Why the hell are you just standing there?
I sputtered something of an apology and helped her pull down the steel gate, locking it. I felt a tiny bit of security. It wasn't much, but it was something. "We need to barricade the door leading to the service corridor," I said, hurrying that way. Ed's goons had dropped off weapons in our back room, which meant they had access to the store somehow. The service corridor was the only logical place they could have come through.
Way ahead of you. I already blocked it off. Pushed over a shelf.
Okay, good. You think it's enough to hold them off?
It's wedged in there pretty good. I'd say as it's safe as we're gonna get. We're barricaded in here for the time being. At least, until we can figure out a plan.
She looked so sure of herself when she said that, but that safety would not last for very long. Claire seemed to eventually realize this, since after hearing the sounds of death wails in the distance getting closer, she decided we weren't as safe as we thought. Her searching eyes eventually settled on the air conditioning vent in the ceiling, and as she pulled over a stepladder to reach it, I knew she was going to try to John MacGyver her way out of here.
These vents should lead outside.
Claire was saying as she used her keys to unscrew the cover.
I can go for help, but that would mean leaving you here alone.
She didn't mention the obvious issue, and the reason I wouldn't be able to follow her. My ass was way too big to fit in that vent. "You don't think they'll have the outside of the building covered?" I asked nervously. "They could easily have control of the camera system by now. What if you get caught?" She thought about this, and then replied.
You might be right, but it's still worth a shot.
I couldn't argue with her there. We were sitting ducks waiting to be killed at the moment.
I took the bus to work today. My car broke down on the way home yesterday. I've got no way of getting to the police station or anywhere else to call for help.
She said, as if just remembering this fact. I fished for my keys in my pocket, then pulled them out. "Take my car. I'll survive here on my own. Just don't get caught, okay?" She took my keys and nodded, her eyes watery. She looked like she wanted to say something else to me, something important. "What? What is it?"
Nothing. Just don't die, okay?
I couldn't help but laugh, despite the situation. "I'll try." She grabbed a knife from the pile of weapons. Then she climbed up the stepladder and was gone. "Shit," I said to myself once I could no longer hear her movements in the vent. I was alone, and despite what I'd said, I wasn't too thrilled about it. After putting the vent cover back on and removing the stepladder, I resumed pacing back and forth nervously. I could hear the occasional howls of terror from outside the store, often followed by nightmarish noises I could only assume were death cries, horrifying yelps and blood-curdling screams cut short. They were cutting us down like livestock. No one was fighting back against them, or more accurately, no one stood a chance against them. The PA crackled to life once again, and I heard Ed's despicable voice speaking through it, gloating.
Attention, mall employees. You're making this way too easy on us. Picking you off one by one as you stay huddled in your holes. Didn't you think we'd kill the security guards? Steal their keys? We can get to each of you any time we want.
The screams were getting closer, I realized. They were right next door. The steel gate rattled open. Footsteps could be heard, followed by the sounds of butchering and screaming and death.
As a result of this easy streak we're on, I'm going to be instituting a little grace period. A ceasefire. The next 10 people who are caught by my men, or who give themselves up willingly, will be spared. At least temporarily. Do with that what you will, and decide for yourself if you want to be one of the lucky few who are given a chance to survive.
The microphone clicked off, and I was left in silence. It lasted only a moment before the steel shutter at the right of the store was being pulled open. I looked out of the back room, cracking the door by an inch. Several of Ed's goons marched inside, holding weapons while one of them held the steel shutter open. The man in front saw me, then pointed my way, motioning for the others to follow. I retreated back inside the room and tried to barricade the entrance, but it was too late. They ripped open the door to the back room and hauled me out. "I surrender! I surrender!" I said, unsure if the temporary ceasefire would really save me, or if it was just a ploy to make us more docile. The brown-haired Megamart goon on the right mocked, before slamming the butt of his crossbow into the side of my head, knocking me out cold. I woke up with a splitting headache. It was hard to tell exactly how much time had passed, but it felt like it had been a while. My back was sore from lying on the hard tile floor, and my ears were ringing slightly. I blinked a few times, trying to get my vision to unblur. Eventually, it did. Looking around, I realized I was in the food court, and I was surrounded by people I knew. Claire was right next to me, and after recovering my wits enough to speak, I asked her what had happened.
Exactly what you thought would happen. They were watching the outside of the building. I didn't get halfway to your car before they had guns aimed at me. Damn snow was already up to my knees anyways. Your car was buried. The whole city is gonna be shut down today. No one's coming for us.
"That's very optimistic," I began, but was quickly interrupted by Big Ed's voice. Oh, maybe I forgot to mention, the owner of Megamart really liked to be called Big Ed, despite his 5'0" stature. He practically forced the nickname upon his employees and customers alike, as if it would make up for any other anatomical deficit he might have.
Welcome to the winner's circle. Bet that isn't something you losers ever thought you would hear. But I guess I should congratulate you. You survived longer than 90% of your friends, even if it was just because your stores were furthest away, and thus, the last ones we raided.
He rolled his eyes and shouted at one of his underlings.
Ugh, Toby, Prime, now!
A Prime energy drink was in his hand approximately 1 second later, thrown there like a fastball. He caught it and opened it without skipping a beat. As much as I hated the guy, I had to admit, it was impressive. And a little intimidating. I got that surreal feeling again, like this couldn't actually be happening. It was all too strange. Was this a nightmare? It felt like it had to be. Except it was all too real, as was the pain in my skull. He chugged the bottle of Prime and crunched the empty plastic in his fist, then threw the remains over his shoulder.
Now, what was I saying? Oh, right. Have you all played hide and seek before?
He waited for us to answer, practically vibrating with the infusion of caffeine and B vitamins. We all nodded silently.
That's a bit how this is gonna be. See, we've got the whole mall opened up now. Unlocked all the stores. And all us Mega Mart employees are gonna be here, in the food court, having our lunch.
I looked around to see all the restaurants were splattered with blood, and I assumed there were corpses everywhere behind the counters. All the workers were dead. Yet the Megamart employees were happily eating tacos and pieces of pizza, shawarma, and anything else they could find that wasn't covered in blood. A few of them were looking over at us, raising their caps as if to salute us for still being alive.
So all of you are gonna get to go for a little run now. I know, that's not something you're used to.
He poked one of the workers' protruding belly as he walked past, pacing down the aisle of us like a drill sergeant.
Especially not you. But today, you're gonna have to try it out. Because after we're done eating in, say, 20 minutes, we're gonna be coming for you.
His goons tossed us each a closed switchblade.
That's all you're gonna get for weapons, unless you find something better. Oh, I'm sure there's still plenty of good stuff lying around out there. Oh, it's amazing what you could find on Amazon. And nobody says shit, even if you buy a few £1,000s worth of killing equipment.
We all sat silently.
Where was I? Oh, right. You've got 20 minutes to find a hiding place. More or less. The entire mall is your oyster.
One person began to run immediately, without waiting for further instructions. The other 9 of us stood there uncertainly, waiting to see if bolts and arrows would suddenly appear, sticking out of the man's back as he fell dead. But nothing happened as he gradually grew smaller in the distance, huffing and puffing loudly as he ran.
Well, what are you waiting for? Go! The clock is ticking.
And with that, Big Ed sat down with his feast of Sbarro, Wetzel's Pretzels, and Burger King. He squirted some Taco Bell hot sauce on all of it, and the redness ran down his chin like blood as he chewed and smiled at us. Without another moment of hesitation, the group of us stood up and ran. Claire was beside me as we gained distance from the food court. She looked terrified, a sheen of stressed sweat covering her face. "Where are we going?" I asked as we ran past a gore-splattered, as-seen-on-TV store, and then a discount shoe place. "We need to hide somewhere."
I don't know.
She stopped in the doorway of a nail salon, without turning to see the carnage inside the place. As she caught her breath, I tried not to look over her shoulder. 3 women were dead on the floor of the salon, surrounded by maroon-red puddles and coagulating blood. As much as I tried to avoid looking at the gore, it was difficult. There was so much blood. I couldn't understand where it all come from, and how those few people could have contained so much of the stuff. A cotton candy pink teddy bear sat on a shelf, surrounded by other decorations, flowers, and waving cats. The juxtaposition to the carnage around us was so surreal. And then it hit me. "Wait, I've got an idea," I said to Claire as something dawned on me. "I think I know where we can hide. Follow me." As we approached the store on the 2nd floor, Claire stopped in her tracks.
This can't possibly be the place where you want to hide.
"What? It's as good a place as any."
Build-A-Bear workshop? Seriously? You need weapons and camouflage. A hiding place. This isn't the time to indulge your stuffy addiction.
"Hey, I told you about that in confidence." I had a collection of stuffed animals, which took a prominent place on my living room shelf, but Claire was sworn to secrecy about that. She had seen them once after a work party when I had too much to drink, and she ended up driving me home. She'd never let me live it down. We've just got to last longer than the rest of them. And this place has plenty of hiding spots. Trust me, I've spent enough time here.
So this is where you go on all your breaks.
She said with a snort of laughter that I couldn't help but find endearing. We went in through the front entrance of Build-A-Bear, and I noticed the store was pretty well untouched. Either the employees here had given themselves up willingly, or they were in on it. I couldn't see any other option. Every other store in the mall was splattered with blood and gore, but not this one. "There's bags of stuffing in the back, and I know they just got in a new shipment of occupation-specific bear clothing. We can hide in there. Should be lots of room and plenty of stuff to disguise ourselves with."
Really? Do you think the bear clothes will fit us?
"No, I mean..." I stopped mid-sentence when I realized she was grinning. "Oh, okay. You know what I mean. We can hide in those bins of bear accessories they've got back there. If we're lucky, maybe the cops will show up before they can find us." Claire looked dubious on that point, but she didn't say anything to the contrary. Just as we were settling into our hiding places at the back of the store, Big Ed's voice began to blare over the PA once again, this time taking on the chipper voice of the typical mall announcements.
All right, mall shoppers. Mega Mart employees are now loose in your area. Be on the lookout for a sales associate wearing a blue shirt, and if you see one, be sure to say hello. We'll have crossbow bolts and arrows coming at you half off, today only. And don't forget, only one of you will survive the day.
Claire and I looked at each other from our hiding spots, the dilemma obvious, but we both shook our heads, trying not to think of that. Hopefully, the cops would get here first. A loud scream could be heard from a little distance away. a store maybe 3 or 4 doors down from where we were. The scream was cut short, signifying a swift death, a slit throat or a caved-in skull perhaps. They were close.
Ah, sounds like we have one satisfied customer already. Now, I feel like I should mention, we've disabled the interior camera system for the remainder of this game. See, it was getting too easy finding and killing all of you. So we decided to make things a little more challenging. The building's exterior camera system is still operational, so don't get too excited. I'm talking to you, Claire.
She jumped at the sound of her own name being spoken by that maniac.
Only 9 of you left. I look forward to seeing who survives.
The mic clicked off, and as it did, a new sound became audible. Footsteps headed in our direction. I tensed up, sinking myself deeper into the pile of tiny teddy bear clothing. I tried to make myself invisible, but it was kinda hard considering my height and build. As the footsteps got closer, I began to realize just how visible I was. My hand was poking out, and one of my elbows was too, and as the footsteps entered the room, I felt my body seizing up with panic.
Well. I see you, Mr. Bear.
The man's shadow blocked out the fluorescent lights, casting me in darkness. I looked up at him and met his eyes, and saw the glee in them. He was enjoying this.
2 down, 8 to go.
He said, raising a blade above his head. It was a curved sword with a wickedly sharp blade, like a Japanese katana. I closed my eyes, knowing it was my time to die. I felt oddly at peace with it at that moment, as if everything in my life had been leading up to this. I squeezed my eyes tighter, tensing up, but the death blow didn't come. It felt like time was stretching out and lasting forever. These last moments before my death. But then I was surprised to hear the man above me gurgling. A moment later, he fell to the floor. Reluctantly, I opened my eyes to see a different figure standing over me, shrouded in a sniper's camouflage. But this camouflage wasn't made of dead leaves and grass. Instead, he was covered in stuffed teddy bears, which had been adhered to his outfit. "Bill?" I asked, recognizing him instantly. "Holy shit, you're alive!" The guy who I saw almost every day on my lunch break did not appear happy to see me. His face was stern and angry, but he did help me up.
We need to get out of here.
He said, taking off his teddy bear camouflage.
They'll be back eventually, and I can't hide this mess.
He motioned to the dead Mega Mart employee on the floor, blood pooling around him. I looked around the store and saw several other employees climbing out of bins. Each of them was wearing an outfit made of teddy bears. They blended in perfectly, so well that we hadn't even noticed them when we entered the store. "I didn't know it. We thought you were, dead already,"
Not bloody likely.
said another man wearing bear camouflage who approached us from behind.
The 4 of us were in a sniper unit in the military before working at this place. We know how to hide, and we would have easily survived until the end of this massacre if you 2 hadn't come in here.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Those outfits are great. How did you manage to...
Fat lot of good that'll do us now.
The guy said, cutting me off. He was already removing his camouflage, as were the others.
We gotta find somewhere else to go. And fast.
We can use it to our advantage. If we're in tight quarters, their numbers won't matter so much.
Bill grinned as he clapped me on the back.
Clever girl. Who is this? How come you never introduced us?
"Oh, this is Claire. She works at Electro Hut with me,"
Holy shit, so this is the Claire.
he asked, winking at me.
Well, I can see why you like her so much. She'd make one hell of a sniper.
I could feel my face going red and did my best to avoid looking at Claire, but I could feel her staring at me, her jaw slightly agape. "What about locks?" I asked, trying to avoid that gaze, and hoping to change the subject as fast as humanly possible. "We don't have keys for the other stores. If we get surrounded, we're screwed." Claire was already on it. She was patting down the dead body and pulled out a set of keys, jingling them in front of us. One of them was a Grand Master key stolen from the security guard. A large GM was stamped on it with capital letters.
Any other questions?
The 6 of us went out the back of the store, and I got the feeling we were just in time. Bill was the last one out, and as he closed the door, we could hear more goons entering Build-A-Bear workshop.
We need to move. They're gonna be right behind us.
Fortunately, the service tunnel curved slightly, so the men behind us didn't have a clear line of sight, but I had no doubt that they would be moving quickly to find the people who had killed their friend. Sure enough, I heard the door we'd come through open and close less than a minute later, and footsteps were echoing down the hallway. Several men running at full speed toward us.
Open it. Open it.
Bill was saying to Claire, indicating one of the doors up ahead.
Quick. They're right behind us.
Claire was jiggling the keys, but it didn't want to turn in the rusted door lock. Meanwhile, the rest of us prepared ourselves for whoever might be coming around the corner at any second. 3 of the Build-A-Bear workshop guys had crossbows, while Bill and I were armed with swords. I'd picked up the katana dropped by the Megamart goon, since it was a lot nicer than the switchblade I'd been given by Ed. The footsteps were getting closer by the second, and I was sure they would round the corner before Claire could open the door. But at what felt like the last possible moment, she managed to find the sweet spot, and the key turned with an effort. She yanked on the doorknob, and we all piled into a random mall establishment. Bill shut the door behind him as quietly as possible, and we found ourselves in a loud, dark space, lit up by flashing lights and colorful low-resolution screens. Buzzers and laser sound effects mingled with guns and race cars and 100 other random noises. Blue lights gave our teeth a nuclear green fluorescent glow. We were in the mall's ancient arcade. The place had never been updated, so most of the games were old and out of date. The crumbling black walls were plastered with glow-in-the-dark stars and planets, but most had lost their phosphorescent shine years prior. It gave the effect of being lost and floating through space in a dying galaxy, a stranded astronaut separated from his ship. It was frequently just as empty as it was now on this desolate day.
Hide.
Bill told us all, raising his voice to be heard over the racket.
Spread out, quick.
We all did as he asked and moved to different sections of the arcade. Claire went and hid behind a skee-ball machine, while I tucked myself into a dead race car simulator. The second I got inside, the place was filled with bright light from the service hallway as the door we'd come through opened again. I was too scared to look up, knowing there would be several armed men coming my way. Suddenly, my hiding space did not seem very safe or very hidden. I felt like I was right out in the open, and they would see me at any second. Why hadn't I gone further into the arcade, into a darker area? Sure enough, they found me immediately. A shadow blocked out the light of the arcade, and I looked up to see a tall guy with a square jaw frowning down at me. He looked angry. That was when I remembered that we'd just killed his friend, and this guy wanted revenge. Fortunately, I also remembered the katana I was holding at pretty much that same moment. Just as he was winding up to bring a bat down on top of my skull, I thrust the blade upward into his gut. The curved steel continued on, easier than I would have imagined, and I ended up with my knuckles pressed against his belly, the tip of the blade up near his throat probably. He started coughing as blood seeped from his mouth and dropped the bat he was holding. It fell to the floor with a wooden clatter, which I guessed would draw even more attackers. 2 seconds later, there was another blue-shirted behemoth on top of me. He was armed with a blade, which moved so fast I could barely make it out. I lifted my own sword and clumsily parried, backing away from him quickly. There were several other Megamart employees in the arcade too, I realized, seeing them in my peripheral vision. All of my other allies were engaged in heated battles of their own, which meant I would have no choice but to either beat this guy at his own game or die a bloody, gruesome death. I kept backing up farther and farther until I had nowhere else to go. I was backed into a wall, fighting for my life. Behind the man, more and more Megamart goons were piling into the arcade, and I realized they were all converging on us at once. With my strength running out, I blocked a final attack and felt my arms starting to give out on me. I could feel myself losing the ability to fight back, and just like that, the blade was coming down on my head, and I realized I couldn't counter in time. I dodged instead, and it only partially worked. Feeling the blade nick the top of my shoulder, I dove to the side. My movement was unexpected enough that it threw him off his focus. As I regained my footing, I noticed that his blade was stuck in the wall behind where I'd been standing. He was trying desperately to pull it out, and I used that momentary distraction to my advantage. The blade I was holding quickly found his throat, and I drew it across the flesh there without a second thought. His neck opened like a second mouth, dripping blood as he gasped and choked, falling to his knees. I spun around and went to help the others, not wasting a second. As I entered into the fray, I saw we had the advantage. Most of the Megamart goons who had entered were dead. Bill and his companions had done well for themselves, at least for the most part. We'd lost 2 men as well, I realized, counting the numbers and seeing our friends on the ground. Bill and Claire were fighting desperately, while another one of his co-workers was engaged in hand-to-hand combat with someone a foot taller than he was. I went over to help him, since he looked like he was losing steam, just as I had been a few moments ago. But that would be a decision I would later regret. I managed to sneak up behind the Megamart employee and caught him with a slice to the back of the leg, barely dodging as he spun around with his own axe, trying to lop my head off. The 2 of us fought the larger man and nearly took him down after that, his movement hampered by the wound. Unfortunately, while we were distracted, Claire and Bill were faring much worse.
Help, quick.
I spun around to see that Bill was on the floor, bleeding out, and Claire was screaming for my help as she was attacked by a much larger man who was holding her down. A woman wearing a blue shirt was with him, holding a spear. Before I could get to her, the spear was through her chest, and I heard someone screaming. It wasn't until a few moments later, when my voice was hoarse and I could barely speak, that I realized it was me. The world went red around me. I can't describe it any better than that. And when I came to, I found myself panting, gripping the sword's hilt with blistered fingers, raw and aching, and a room full of dead people surrounded me. In the dark, with the lights flashing and the blood spilled everywhere, I couldn't tell who was wearing a blue shirt and who wasn't anymore. I found Claire amongst the bodies, still breathing, but just barely. Lifting up her head, I tried to comfort her, but found I couldn't speak, and even if I could, I couldn't think of what words to say. She did the talking for me, just like she'd done so many times before.
Always knew.
She broke off into a fit of wet coughing, her blood splattering warm against my face.
I always knew you liked me. Why didn't you ever ask me out, big idiot?
I was about to say something back in reply, to say that I always thought there would be more time. But before I could, she coughed again, more weakly this time, and let out a shuddering breath that rattled in her chest. She did this twice more as my mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but I never got the words out. She squeezed my hand once, tightly, and then the pressure released. And with that, her eyes lost something. That spark of life was gone from them, and I knew she was gone with it. There was no getting her back. CPR wouldn't save her in the middle of this shitstorm, with an ambulance impossible to reach, so I didn't try. I sat with her there for a minute, holding her hand, squeezing it, numb to the buzzing sound of the PA system, numb to the voice asking me a question from it. But eventually, I realized who was talking. It was him, the man responsible for all of this.
Bravo, bravo! Is this thing on? Can you hear me now? Oh, good. Greg. It's great to see you're still alive. We needed a winner after all. Otherwise, what was the point of all this?
He broke off laughing, and I gripped the katana tighter.
I can't blame you if you missed the countdown as your comrades fell one by one. You did have your hands full after all. It looks like the Electro Shack of all places will be our sole competition within the Beaconville Mall. At least, until we decide we need to expand again. For now, you're the winner, Greg. Why don't you come down to Mega Mart and claim your prize? A trophy for surviving the deadliest game there is.
On shaking legs, I began to walk. There was no point in fighting this. If he wanted me dead, he'd find me either way. At least now, I wasn't scared anymore. I was no longer afraid of death.
Oh, one quick thing. You'll need to come unarmed. We don't want you trying to kill us while we award you your trophy. So just leave that pretty little sword right there in the arcade. Got it? And yes, I can see you.
I stood there, defiantly, refusing to drop the blade.
And remember, I can kill you with a gun if I so choose. So be a good boy and drop your fucking weapon.
I hadn't thought of that. Without many other options, I dropped the sword.
Good. Now head over to my office for a little chat. It's at the back of the store. I'll see you soon.
It was eerie marching through the mall, defenseless. Even though I figured most of the Megamart goons were dead, I still felt as if they were watching me. It felt as if there were eyes on me everywhere, watching me from the shops and the upper levels. Eventually, I realized it was the open, staring eyes of the dead. That was what I felt looking at me. So much carnage and destruction brought on by one man. He needed to be stopped. There was only one way. The giant store loomed over me as I approached. Its huge facade took up 2 floors without interruption. The entire mall led to this store and seemed to funnel people inevitably into it like a giant glowing mouth, waiting to swallow you up.
Come on in.
Big Ed gloated as I stepped around a puddle of sticky, dark red blood.
Sorry about the mess.
Entering the store, that feeling of eyes on me returned. But this time, I realized it was from the gazes of living, breathing people. At least a dozen blue-shirt Megamart employees surveyed me from their various departments as I passed through. Instead of giving me angry looks for killing their coworkers, these folks did something far stranger. As I encountered each of them in the aisle, they stood smiling broadly and greeted me. Each one was dressed in identical blue shirts and khaki pants, and had the same smile, their arms hanging limply at their sides. Some were only inches away from my face as I passed through the aisles. I winced a few times at how close they stood to me and how dead their eyes looked, but they didn't make any move to attack or follow after me. "Hi, welcome to Mega Mart. Let me know if I can help you find anything," they would say in identical enthusiasm and cadence as I passed each of them. Creepy. Finally, I reached the back of the store. One of Big Ed's goons was waiting outside a door marked private. The guy was tall, over 6.5 feet, just like the others we'd fought, like they were all cookie-cutter copies of the same linebacker form, near exact duplicates. I hadn't really noticed it until now. He opened it for me as I approached and didn't stop smiling at me.
Greg, good to see you, bud.
Big Ed said, standing up to shake my hand as I entered. I took it, more out of instinct than anything else, and a little bit of fear. Who knew what this guy might still do? I didn't want to piss him off, especially with that giant standing behind me.
You can leave us, Dave,
he said to the goon by the door, motioning for me to sit.
I'm sure Greg's not gonna try anything silly.
Dave gave his boss a concerned look before stepping out of the office. He closed the door behind him. I didn't sit.
Sit, stand, makes no difference to me.
Big Ed said, grinning at me.
Either way, you know I win, right? You know I always win. That's the difference between the two of us.
He opened a box on his desk, pulling out a cigar. He deftly sniped the end off with a cigar cutter, put it in his mouth, and lit it, not offering me one.
I get what I want. You don't. I wanted this mall. Now, I have it.
What about the cops? You're going to prison for a long, long time. There's no way you're going to get away with this.
I never killed anyone. The people who did are dead. All those violent young men must have gone on an organized killing spree. I certainly had nothing to do with it.
All the blood is on your hands, I answered immediately, including Claire's. He scoffed and puffed on his cigar.
Yes, Claire. That was unfortunate. I could see why you liked her. You know, before all this, we had hidden cameras installed everywhere, just to be prepared. We put them everywhere, even the employee change rooms. And yes, I could certainly see why you liked Claire. I even have some of the footage saved on my computer, if you'd like to see. I made a best of compilation. It's here somewhere.
He turned to face the monitor and began to click on the mouse of his computer. That was when I let the rage boiling inside of me release all at once. Like a coiled spring, I leapt across the table, clutching the switchblade which I had pulled from my pocket, the same one this bastard had handed me a short while before. And before he could let out a scream, I plunged the knife into his throat. Struggling and thrashing, he brought the cigar up to burn me with it. I felt a vague sensation of my skin melting and sizzling near my shoulder, then on my neck, but it was far away and distant compared to the satisfaction of that moment. The cigar went out, snuffed by my skin. When I emerged from the office, dragging the dead body of Big Ed behind me, I expected to be swarmed. I dropped him to the floor like a trophy, showing him to them all. I don't know why, maybe to gloat, maybe to scare them, but it did have an unexpected reaction. The Megamart employees who saw him began to wail and cry, screaming at the top of their lungs. They ran over to him and cried over top of him, clutching his hands and trying to shake him and wake him up. It was like they didn't understand what death even was. They seemed to think he was only sleeping. When he didn't wake up, they shook him harder. As they surrounded him, crying and begging him to wake up, I started to back away. I made my way out of the store, terrified and hoping they wouldn't begin to chase me. I fully expected that to happen, for their sadness to turn to anger and for them to kill me, but they didn't. The group of them around Big Ed all looked so similar, I realized, like clones. I remembered wondering where he found them all. Monsters.com? Maybe I wasn't so far off. Maybe they weren't human at all. The Megamart goons always looked so much the same to one another. Maybe there was a reason for that. I didn't think I would ever get a definitive answer to that question. But one thing was clear to me at that moment. These were not normal people. In fact, I'm pretty sure they weren't real people at all. But if not that, then what? Aliens, androids, or clones? Body snatchers looking to expand their operations? I was too tired to guess anymore. All I knew was that I needed to get out of there before they came for me, assuming they would. The doors to the mall were chained and locked with padlocks, but I had Big Ed's keys. Walking past the security guard with his spilled coffee cup, I glanced at him uncertainly. Was he dead or sleeping? No, there's no way someone could have slept through all that. Could he? I pushed open the exterior door against a wall of snow, which almost did not relent. It took all of my effort to finally get it to budge, but once I did, I managed to escape through a gap barely wide enough for my body to fit through. Once outside, I began to run through the snow towards my car, brushing off just enough snow to see through the windshield. I got in, looking over my shoulder for people chasing me, but there was no one. Finally, with the car's engine running, I began to warm up from the frigid air outside. Still shivering, I reached into my pocket and removed my phone, dialing 911. I waited for it to go through, hoping that it would.
911, what's your emergency?
A voice said on the other end, after several long, silent moments.
Hello? Are you there? Do you need police, fire, or ambulance?
I think maybe all three, I said quietly, turning and stunned to see a plume of black smoke beginning to rise from the end of the mall where the Mega Mart was located. I'm at the Beaconville Mall. There's been a massacre, and I think I might be the only person left alive. Hello everybody, I hope you enjoyed the story. So this was a fun one, and the premise of the story reminded me of something, and I know it's not really related to it, but I really like American Dad, and for any of you who have seen it, do you know that episode where Francine reunites with her dad or whatever, and they go to the family reunion, and then the dad locks them all in and is like, alright, y'all have to kill each other for the inheritance or whatever the reasoning is? I don't know, it just reminded me of that. But yeah, this one was a little bit different. I haven't done many stories that take place in malls recently. I think the last one I did was the Backrooms one a while ago. Speaking of Backrooms, I still haven't been able to see that movie yet, but I want to. Thankfully, it hasn't really been spoiled for me or anything. But have any of you seen it? And if you have, what'd you think of it? I'll probably see it this weekend, but we'll see about that. And I'm hoping my next video is going to be a fairly long one, if I can get everything together that I need for it. And I've updated the podcast on streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, things like that. So it's not quite fully up to date, but it's only like a few episodes behind. Soon, I'm going to be doing a simulcast, I believe is what it's called. When I upload a video on here, the story will also be going live on the podcast at the same time. And I'll leave a link to that in the pinned comment in case any of you want to check it out. And this story also had a guest narration by the author himself, Jordan Group, and I'll link back to his channel that he has on YouTube if you want to check it out. And I hope you all have been enjoying the more frequent uploads. I'm almost back to my old schedule, kind of, but we'll just try to keep this pace going for a while and make sure that everything runs smoothly. And then I'd like to get back to the 2 or hopefully 3 a week, but right now I'm just going to aim for 2. I think that's a good place to just kind of get consistent with. But yeah, thank you all so much for taking the time to watch the video, and I hope you have a great weekend.